Hello, and welcome for something short and sweet on the Parsha. This week, Parshas Acharei Kedoshim. I want to dedicate today's Devar Torah to Refuah Shalema, to our dear friend Usher Tzvi and Esther Elka Heshi Zoberg. May he have a Refuah Shalema, complete recovery. So I want to bring to your attention a powerful idea on a beautiful medrash from Rosh Hashiva of blessed memory, Rav Henoch Leibowitz. Medrash Tanchuma commenting on the Pasuk, Parshas Kedoshim, 1923. It's talking about the halachas of Orla, what you do with the fruit of a newly planted or grafted tree. And it starts off, Ki savo el haaretz unatatem. When you will go into the land, then you will plant kol eitz machol, any food-bearing tree, etc., and then it goes into the halach. But the Medrash sees within ki savo el haaretz unatatem, the Medrash sees a directive, a mitzvah. When you go into the land, plant. What's the idea? Let me read you the language of the Medrash. Ki savo el haaretz unatatem, when you go into the land and you will plant. Amar lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu liYisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to the Jewish people, Af al pi shetimsu osam aleha kol tov. Even though you will find, or you may find, that land filled with all sorts of bounty. Lo somru neishe v'lo nita. Don't say, let us sit back and not plant. Elo hevu zehirin b'netios. Go out and work the land. Shene'emur netatem kol eitz ma'achol. It's a mitzvah. Plant all sorts of fruits. Kishem shenichnastem umatzasem netio shenitu acherim. What's the reason? What's the obligation? From where stems the obligation? Just as you entered and you found it well stocked, you found those trees planted. Others did it for you. Afatem, so too you. Heyunituin livinechem. You planted for the next generation. You planted for your children. Shelo yamar adam. A person should never say, Ani zaken. I'm old. I'm done. The planting's not going to be for me. Kama shanim ani chai. How long am I going to live? I might not even live to see the fruits that I can eat from this tree. Ma'ani omed misyaga la'acherim. What am I going to toil for other people? Tomorrow I'm going to die. What's the point? Says the pasuk according to the Medrash. Ki savo el haaretz. You go into the land, plant. Who am I planting for? Even if it doesn't work for me, it works for someone else. Why? Because somebody else did it for me. So Rabbi Leibowitz pointed out, he said, 1 minute here. Planting for the next generation is something called chesed, kindness. In this religion, you can't get better than chesed. Pasuk in Hosea, for example, says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I want chesed, below zevach. I'll take your kindness, I'll take it over sacrifices in the temple. We know the verse that says, Olam chesed yibon. The world was built on chesed and for chesed. Our sages tell us that the Torah begins with acts of kindness and it ends with acts of kindness. Obviously, kindness, so important. The eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When we do acts of chesed, of kindness, we are godly. We behave godly. We are domeh l'shchina. We are like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So if somebody would come to the rabbi and say, I might not live to see those trees produce edible fruit. Should I plant? The rabbi would say, of course. You can do chesed. You can't get much better than that. The Medrash doesn't say that. The Medrash says that the reason why you should plant is because somebody did it for you. It must be that obligation caused by somebody did it for you is a greater mechayiv, is a greater impetus in Jewish thought and in Jewish law. Somebody did it for you, so you have to turn around and do it for somebody else. That's a greater impetus, a greater mechayev than chesed. So Rabbi Leibowitz said, if this is true of planting true fruit trees, how much more so it's true of things which may even be more important. I always think about the people that brought us here to this point today. Our people survived 2,000 years of exile. Through thick and through thin, mostly thin, our ancestors, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, etc., over the last 2,000 years, taking their packs and running from country to country. And here we are, Torah Jews. We've held on tenaciously. It's only because of our bubbies and our zaydis. They did so much for us. They were so tenacious. They held on to Torah. They held on to their belief in God in the most difficult circumstances. They brought us to this point. And that being the case, that says to us, look what all of those people did for you. Your grandfather, your great-grandfather. Wow, so many people have brought me to today. This gives me the great obligation to the next generation, that I should put them in a place, put them in a space where they can flourish religiously, where they could flourish as much as I did, as much as my father did, etc. Great, great obligation, which is caused by everyone that has done to me. And that goes beyond just plain old chesed, just plain doing something right for someone else, which is so, so important. That's the message of Ki Savo El Haaretz. When you come into land Udataten, as the Medrash says, somebody else planted for me. If somebody else planted for me, I need to go ahead and I need to plant for my children and the next generation. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great Shabbos.